Hello everyone, I am Sarah Scanlon, studying at American College of Education. Today I'm going to present on a hypothetical situation of in-course corrections on a meiosis learning module. My goal is to show the possibility of needing to make adjustments during a learning module. No matter how much time we spend front-loading and preparing for any problems, we can't predict everything. Each student is unique, and often we have to address many problems during the course itself. I will show some examples of adjustments I may make along the way. As you can see in the background, this is a course that initially tends to grab student interest. Anytime sex is mentioned, students often begin to listen. This course is on sexual reproduction, which is specifically termed meiosis. Students are in 9th grade and have previously failed biology. The purpose of this online course was to design it so students would get engaged and complete the entire course with a passing grade. Here's the blueprint of the learning module on meiosis. The goal is for 70% of the students to get 70% or better on all of the objectives, which are right here. It was designed for the constructivist theory on the 5E model. The 5 stages are outlined, including engagement, exploration, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. The learning objectives have been modified to Bloom's revised taxonomy, and the activities connect to the learning objectives. The rest of the presentation will revolve around Jesus and Christian. These are 2 students enrolled in the class that are not fully participating in the class activities, and when they do, their scores are much lower than the average of the rest of the class. We are about halfway through the course, and I will make some adjustments to help them along with other students. The first thing I want to mention is Chickering and Gamson's 7 Principles of Good Education. We want to make sure we communicate well with the students. We also want to make sure we develop positive cooperation with students. I have a learning activity where students do an online discussion. This would be something that the students would be used to doing in other courses. Something I fully support as a science educator is active learning strategies. I find learning boring when it isn't engaging. I try to incorporate strategies such as looking at diagrams, doing a case study, and interacting with other students. If students don't know how they are doing, they won't be able to improve, which is why feedback is so key. I will provide some examples of how you can follow these education practices in the following slides. Let's say we are about halfway through the class, and this is the current data on the course. I would analyze the data to make adjustments for all students and also make sure to adjust for specific students. I bolded Christian and Jesus because they both scored decently below the class average. Something else I would want to collect data on if possible would be how long it took for the students to complete these activities. If they spend a lot of time and still struggled, then I likely should be making some changes or adjusting grades. Overall, besides the 2 specific students I pointed out, the rest are doing well, scoring on average above a 70%. As you can see here are the class averages, and on average the percent is about an 80%. One example of a good education practice is communicating. My 2 students were struggling. I wanted to first make an announcement and address all of my students. Chances are, if one student is struggling, others could also benefit from some changes. In my announcement to students, I would give a specific piece of advice as seen in my words, where I say, make sure you can explain why the chromosomes are cut in half for meiosis. I also provided a link with extra support for the students right here. It is important to stay positive, where I put keep up the great work. Furthermore, research shows that we need to have high expectations but help students realize that the tasks are possible. Providing feedback to students that already think they can't do it doesn't improve overall scores, as found by Fife and Brown in 2018. The most important thing, I think, is building up the students' confidence, which communication is a great way to do that. Here's an example of a personal email I would send to Jesus or Christian. Personal feedback goes a long way in comparison to an announcement to the whole class. I want to develop trusting relationship with the students. Again, a main part I did here was ensure I offered positivity and some advice. The link is a great way to add in more visual and auditory learning. Online is more difficult to just show your presence to a student, but an email can still go a long way. I already went over an announcement I would send out to all my students during the in-course corrections. I would also make some adjustments to the course itself. In the before, I only have a diagram of both mitosis and meiosis. After looking at data, I would revise the learning activity. I provided more direction by clarifying the directions such as using a Venn diagram. I also provided material by adding in a link. As instructional designers, we can't design perfect lessons. There's always room for improvement. A few things to keep in mind during this course is making sure to address any issues as soon as they occur. Many courses, students work at their own pace, and it is important to show you respect the students' time and efforts. Another important thing to do is to make sure to have open, continuous contact with the students. You want to make sure they feel like you are there for them. Also, always make sure you are providing positive feedback along with constructive criticism. Here are the references used in the creation of this presentation. Thank you again for watching this presentation.